The sky had turned a strange shade of gray that evening, the kind that made even the most experienced fisherman uneasy. Waves crashed harder than usual, and the wind howled like it was carrying a warning across the sea. But for Rafik, warnings didn't matter anymore. He was a broke fisherman, living day to day, casting his nets not for dreams, but for survival. His small wooden boat creaked with every wave, just like his tired bones. He had gone out that day hoping for a decent catch, enough to buy food and maybe pay off a little of his growing debt. But the ocean had been cruel, giving him almost nothing. As he prepared to head back, something unusual caught his eye in the distance, a massive yacht, far too close to the storm's fury, rocking violently against the waves. Before he could even process what was happening, a loud explosion echoed across the water, followed by flames bursting from the side of the yacht. Rafik froze for a second, his heart pounding. People like him didn't go near things like that. Rich people's problems were never his concern. But then, through the chaos, he heard a faint scream. Without thinking, Rafik turned his boat toward the burning yacht. The closer he got, the worse it looked. Fire climbed the white walls of the luxurious vessel, thick black smoke rising into the dark sky. The waves grew more aggressive, slamming against both the yacht and his tiny boat. Suddenly, he saw her, a young woman struggling in the water, barely keeping herself afloat. Her movements were weak, her face filled with terror. For a split second, Rafik hesitated. Saving her meant risking his own life, his only boat, everything he had. But something inside him refused to let her drown. He pushed his fear aside and steered closer, stretching his arm as far as he could. "Hold on," he shouted over the roaring wind. The woman looked up, her eyes desperate, and with the last of her strength, she reached for him. Their hands met, slipping at first because of the water, but Rafik tightened his grip and pulled with all his might. It wasn't easy. The waves fought against him, dragging her back down as if the ocean itself wanted to claim her. But Rafik refused to let go. With one final, desperate pull, he managed to lift her into the boat. She collapsed instantly, coughing up seawater, her body trembling. For a moment, the world around them seemed to pause, as if the ocean had acknowledged his victory. But it didn't last long. The yacht behind them let out another explosion, forcing Rafik to quickly steer away. He rowed as hard as he could, putting as much distance as possible between them and the burning wreck. Only when the flames became a distant glow did he finally slow down. The woman lay there, breathing heavily, her wet hair clinging to her face. Rafik handed her his old, worn-out cloth. "You're safe now," he said quietly. She looked at him, her eyes still wide with shock, but there was something else there too, gratitude, disbelief, and a hint of curiosity. You saved me," she whispered. Rafik shrugged, avoiding her gaze. Anyone would have done the same. But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. Not everyone would risk everything for a stranger, especially someone like him who had so little to lose and yet so much at stake. As the storm slowly began to calm, the woman finally gathered enough strength to sit up. "My name is Aisha," she said softly. Rafik nodded. Rafik. There was a brief silence between them, broken only by the gentle rocking of the boat. Then she spoke again, her voice slightly steadier. "You have no idea what you've done for me." Rafik gave a faint smile. "I just pulled you out of the water. That's all." But Aisha shook her head. "No, you saved more than just my life." Hours later, when they finally reached the shore, Rafik helped her step onto the sand. The storm had passed, leaving behind a calm but haunting silence. Aisha looked around, as if expecting someone. Within minutes, black luxury cars arrived, followed by a group of well-dressed men rushing toward her. Rafik stepped back, confused. One of the men spoke urgently, "Miss Aisha. Thank God you're safe." Rafik's eyes widened. "Miss." The way they treated her, it wasn't ordinary. Aisha turned toward him, her expression now completely different, not distant, but thoughtful, almost emotional. "Rafik," she said, "there's something you need to know." Before she could continue, one of the men interrupted, whispering something in her ear. She nodded, then looked back at Rafik. "You saved the daughter of one of the richest businessmen in the country," she said gently. Rafik felt like the ground beneath him had shifted. A millionaire's daughter. Him? A poor fisherman. It didn't make sense. He rubbed his hands nervously. I didn't know. I mean, it doesn't matter, but Aisha stepped closer. It matters to me. She paused, then added, and I won't forget this. As the cars prepared to leave, Aisha turned back one last time. This isn't the end, Rafiq, she said with a small smile. This is just the beginning. And with that, she stepped into the car and disappeared into the night, leaving Rafiq standing alone on the shore, his heart filled with questions, confusion, and a strange feeling he couldn't explain. Little did he know that one decision, to save a stranger in the middle of a storm, was about to change his life forever in ways he never imagined. If you enjoyed this powerful story and want to see what happens next, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next chapter will shock you even more.